the ROC. And John, there was that 1970s.
You haven't changed
John.
at all.
He hasn't,
That's a woman, isn't it? That?
Hey?
That's not you.
That's
this
John
is
on the
me,
right,
this
yeah.
one here.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
haven't got your glasses
Looking
on,
more
Michael.
fresh-faced.
Yeah.
Long.
Well, I was a lot younger then.
Okay.
Right.
If you were born before the 1980s, then you were probably only too aware of the threat of nuclear war, and perhaps you wondered what you would do if the famous 4-minute warning of nuclear attack went off. Well, some folk didn't wonder. They knew they were going to go to work. In the event of a war, their job was to plot where the bombs went off and to pass on that information to anybody that happened to be left in charge. This week, our story belongs to the men and women of the Royal Observer Corps.
None of these people know that Midas satellites circling the Earth have just reported large-scale rocket firing deep from enemy territory. They don't know that 2 giant radar stations, part of the ballistic missile early warning system, are tracking those rockets towards the North American continent, and that other missiles have been picked up which are aimed at this country. Scramble! Scramble!
This is the confidence tick. That meant we were in touch with the outside world. In an emergency, when we've manned the posts, we will be waiting for the notice to come that the country is under attack. And the first we will know is from this alert sound coming from our loudspeaker here on what's called the WB 1400, and it will be followed by a verbal message. Attack warning red. Attack warning red. Attack warning red. Number 3 observer will quickly go up the ladder, crank the siren, which will warn the public of nuclear attack.
Now they know. The whole nation now knows of the impending attack.
So this is the bomb power indicator, and we will report the reading via the teletalk here. So as this needle moves up, if it goes beyond 0.2, we will report it. So we will call headquarters on the teletalk and say, Toxin, Dundee 38 post, 1221, over.
Toxin, Dundee 38 post, 1221. Over.
Toxin down.
Toxin down.
That's a rough idea of what would have happened if a bomb had dropped on the Royal Observer Corps' 38 post, Arbroath. Now that post was just one of hundreds, 1,559 to be precise, that covered almost the entire country in a grid, just these wee tiny concrete box underground bunkers about 8-10 miles apart, built in the late 1950s and staffed by a force of uniformed civilian volunteers.
Okay. Enjoy that?
Interesting.
It's kind of a little bit unsettling when you hear that and you think, well, that could we so nearly came to that situation in 1963 with the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Strike Command was on the verge of giving the order to have all of the bunkers in the country manned 24 hours a day. But all the ROC men and women were put on standby, ready to receive that order. But fortunately, Mr. Khrushchev took the right decision and turned his missiles back. Fortunately, that was the case. But had that occurred, all of the bunkers would be manned, and they would all have been sat in here listening to that confidence tick over the WB 1400. That tick went for over 30 years, continuously. The WB 1400 was installed in airports, ports, police stations right around the country, and of course in the bunkers themselves. And that tick was to allow everyone to be aware that the system was live and ready for attack warning red. Had that attack warning red actually happened, then all of the bunkers would have gone into what they call lockdown. They would have closed the hatch up there because it would mean that missiles were imminent. Missile bombs going off would be imminent within 4 minutes. And they therefore had to protect themselves and all the equipment so that they could start reporting on the bomb hits, if you like, and not on the fallout that would be generated. So that was the idea of the system, to try and save as many people's lives as possible. They believed that a nuclear war was actually survivable. And they would save those lives by letting as many people as possible know where the bombs were going off, the size of the bombs, and also where the fallout was being generated and where the fallout was being carried on the wind. The fallout is potentially the very worst thing about a nuclear blast because it can kill many more people. Fallout can travel on the wind for hundreds of miles. So a bomb could go off in France or somewhere, and it would be killing people across the UK. So it was very important that we monitored where this fallout was being
Can I
generated.
interrupt 1 second? When the Chernobyl incident happened, probably a year later, on the top of May Hill, which is a famous hill near to us in Gloucestershire, the trees on one side all died.
Really?
It was deemed to be from Chernobyl.
Oh,
So, I mean,
yeah.
it was just carried on the wind.
Well,
It's quite
Well, it
scary.
affected the
Scary.
Sheep
farming.
farming.
sheep, yeah,
Yeah,
lots of
Wales,
sheep,
yeah.
yeah.
North
I think there's
Wales.
still two-headed sheep running around Wales today.
I think some people like
That's
that in
really
Egypt.
scary.
Mainly in Westminster, I think.
Well, actually, some of those posts in Wales were effective at picking up that nuclear radiation, and they were using the fixed survey meter, that Geiger counter I spoke about upstairs. It would sit in that grey dome up there. That was sitting on the end of this long pole with a handle at this end. It would take the whole thing and put it up into the hole in the ceiling and attach it to the flange at the base. And that would read to this fallout meter here, it's a radiac meter. And Donald would relay all of that information to Oxford as well. So yeah, some of those Welsh facilities were using their FSM to report on that radiation coming in.
We were all called out during that. Luckily, the post I were at, we didn't get any readings from the fixed survey meter, but as you say, Wales did.
Yes, yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
So it's had useful practical application as well as for doing nuclear war.
That's right, yeah.
But